Demetrious Johnson will go down as one of the best UFC flyweights to step into the octagon. Despite growing up in a tough environment, Johnson was a very athletic kid as he competed in wrestling, track, and cross country. Following high school and college, Johnson began training for MMA, and on April 28, 2007, Mighty Mouse had his first professional bout. However, the future UFC star competed in the bantamweight division since the flyweight division was pretty much non-existent in most companies. Even though the 5'3" fighter was undersized for the bantamweight division, Johnson was still a force to be reckoned with as he won his first 10 fights inside of the octagon. Joe Rogan once said that Mighty Mouse fights correctly. He always moves forward but doesn't get hit. GSP also said, if he and Mighty Mouse were in the same weight class, he thinks Mighty Mouse would destroy him. One of the most astounding things about the future UFC flyweight champion is the fact that he has so much going on in his personal life with his kids, wife, full-time job, and a mom suffering with cancer, whom he cared for. He only had 10 hours a week to train. Johnson wasn't doing MMA full-time at this point in his career. In 2010, World Extreme Cage Fighting merged with the UFC, and Johnson was transferred over to the top promotion in North America. Johnson earned a shot at the UFC Bantamweight Championship. The moment Johnson was announced as the next contender of Dominick Cruz's title, Mighty Mouse made his MMA career full-time by dropping his factory job and started spending up to 30 hours a week training and dieting. The extra training was needed too, as Dominick Cruz was no joke when it came to fighting. The veteran had been fighting for 10 years plus and is notable for his time in WEC, where he had wars against rival Uriah Faber and Joseph Benavidez. Cruz was a former WEC featherweight and bantamweight champion and came into the bout riding an impressive 9-fight winning streak. Once the match ended on October 1, 2011, Cruz was now on a 10-fight winning streak as his experience helped him retain the belt over Johnson. In early 2012, Dana White revealed that the first ever UFC flyweight champion would be crowned in a 4-man flyweight tournament. For the first time in UFC history, on March 3, 2012, a flyweight bout took place within the company that saw Demetrious Johnson take on Ian McCall. The bout went all 3 rounds and originally saw Johnson win via majority decision. However, White later announced that the Athletic Commission made a mistake on the scoring card and the decision was changed to a majority draw. The rematch took place on June 8, 2012, with Johnson scoring the win via unanimous decision. In the finals, Johnson fought Joseph Benavidez, another veteran who was coming off 2 hot TKO wins. Those knockout wins didn't matter much when it came to Johnson, as the UFC star beat Benavidez via split decision and became the inaugural UFC flyweight champion. Demetrious Johnson had finally climbed to the top of the mountain. However, the newly crowned champion had to fend off hungry 125-pound fighters desperate to take his spot at the top. With Johnson's recent change to the flyweight division, his training regime had seen changes necessary to meet the 125-pound requirement. Johnson was asked in an interview how he prepares for a fight. He said, "Going into any fight, I typically spend the first 2 weeks of camp getting in shape, getting my heart rate up to 150 to 175 beats per minute. The next 2 weeks we work on power and explosion. Then it's 2 weeks of heart rate variability training, where I'll do something as hard as I can, let my heart rate come down to 120, and then go again. I'll do circuit training with exercises like jump squats, sprints, push-ups on a med ball, pull-ups, and wall climbs. Do all that to jack my heart rate up, and then rest down until my heart rate is 120 beats again." First, Johnson will get up at 8 a.m. and take care of his personal duties by cooking for his family and taking his kids to school. Then at 9 a.m. he starts his training with a morning cardio swim at his local pool to get the blood and oxygen moving through his body and muscles. For Johnson, it is a good low-impact way to push his cardio and get a full-body workout. "I like to go swimming to get my morning cardio in. It gets the blood and oxygen moving through my body and muscles," he explains. "I used to do 5 rounds of 5 minutes, but now I typically do 3 rounds because it's quite hard on your shoulders. The first and 3 rounds are just freestyle breaststroke. In the second round, I do some explosive intervals. After that, I finish with some lengths of underwater swimming to help with my VO2 max." After the swim, he'll grab a snack and then head off to pick up one of his kids. For session number 2, Johnson makes the hour-long drive to AMC Pancration for 2 hours of intense training. He says, "I head north to the gym and get there around 4:30 p.m., which gives me time to say, 'What's up' to everybody, warm up and get my gear on. I'll have a granola bar as a snack before the session starts," he explains. "At 5 p.m. we'll start training, and we don't stop until 7 p.m., so 2-hour sessions. Tuesday is Muay Thai sparring. We get loose and then do 7 rounds. We do 5 rounds at 5 minutes and then 2 rounds at 3 minutes each. It's straight into jumping some rope and then an hour of technique training. We look at new techniques, drill them, and learn how to put them into the right position. He'll work on wrestling mat drills, grappling, pad work, Muay Thai sparring, and strength and conditioning. His favorite exercises tend to be jump squats, sprints, push-ups on a med ball, pull-ups, and wall climbs. Training camp nights typically include the meat of his martial art preparations, where Johnson works on his wrestling mat drills, grappling, and pad work. With that comes a video study of past matches and upcoming opponents. Most importantly though, he and his team base their training on how his body is feeling that day. With 2 intense hours in the books, it's another hour drive back home. Then he finally gets to spend some downtime with his wife, Destiny. After all that, it's just time to get showered, have my final meal of the day, typically salmon, a sweet potato, and greens, and then have some time with his wife on the couch, Johnson says. I'll go to bed around 10:30, 11 p.m., and then get ready to do it all again. In terms of diet, Johnson either starts with 2 scrambled eggs or some type of toast and a smoothie or another drink that gives him a mix of vitamins for breakfast. Following his morning swim, Johnson will snack on apples and peanut butter. For lunch, it's salmon with sautéed spinach or grilled chicken and brown rice, along with cucumbers on the side or other vegetables. For dinner, it's either whole wheat pasta and black beans with a side of corn or grilled chicken breast with a side of vegetables. When asked about his diet, Johnson said, I use MCT oil a lot. I put it on my yogurt, and I'll make a concoction of coconut water and mineral electrolytes, like a Gatorade thing, and add MCT oil to that. I'm super conscious of hydration because I train so much and I don't want to cramp or tear a muscle because I'm dehydrated. Breakfast might be eggs and oatmeal, and I'll take krill oil with that, and spirulina. I take Total Strength and Performance before workouts, and I just discovered Onit's Elk Bar, and I love it. I eat that between training sessions. When I get home, I take the key minerals. The magnesium helps me relax at night. Mighty Mouse loves his cheat meals and savors them regularly. Johnson loves Oreos, waffles, fried chicken, and stuffed crust pizzas. Furthermore, Demetrious Johnson pointed out that he pays a lot of attention to hydration as he doesn't want to suffer from cramps or tear a muscle, sometimes drinking up to 2 gallons a day. When asked about his hydration, he said, Doctors have told me that Pedialyte is the best thing. It has the perfect combination of zinc, vitamins, iron, and carbohydrates. It's the perfect drink for your body to digest. Johnson's training regime continued to serve him well, as the flyweight dominated the division for nearly 6 years, dropping top fighters Ali Bagotinov, Kyoji Horiguchi, Ray Borg, and Henry Cejudo. When the rematch against Cejudo came at UFC 227, many expected Johnson to retain his belt against the Olympic gold medalist. The fight between Cejudo and Johnson was an exciting close contest that Cejudo pulled out with a split decision. After holding reign over the flyweight division for nearly 6 years, Johnson was no longer the UFC flyweight champion. On Saturday, October 27, 2018, a historic trade between UFC and ONE Championship took place, as the former UFC flyweight champion was traded for former ONE and Bellator welterweight champion Ben Askren. Johnson described his unhappiness with the way fights are promoted in North America and wanted to test his talent somewhere else as his reasoning behind leaving the UFC. For his debut with ONE Championship, Johnson took part in a flyweight Grand Prix, beating Yuya Wakamatsu, Tatsumitsu Wada, and Danny Kingad to win the tournament and get an opportunity at the ONE flyweight title. Johnson finally got his title shot against Adriano Moraes on April 7, 2021, and to the surprise of nearly everyone, Moraes beat the longest reigning UFC flyweight champion via knockout in the second round. This was the first time that Johnson lost a bout via TKO. So what's next for Demetrious Johnson? The flyweight plans on continuing to fight and promises to get a rematch for the ONE title someday. At the moment, he's not penciled in for any fights. Regardless of Johnson's time in ONE, Mighty Mouse will always go down as one of the best fighters to step inside an MMA ring.